Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy, and this is my latest tutorial. This is a foam board sword project, how to make the Alita Battle Angel Sword. I'm going to show you some nice tips, including how to get that good shiny look of a metallic sword.
Dioramas, origami, catapults, and trebuchets, telescopes, terrariums, bonsai trees, and paper games, swords and shields, and real blacksmithing, model rockets, animation. I teach the art of real creation. StormTheCastle.com. Let's make something.
Okay, as in just about all my projects, I give you the template for free. You can download it on my website. The link is in the description of this video. So print up that template. It's really easy. This is an easy, fun project. You can make it in no time at all. See the various parts? And cut all those parts out. There are 6 parts in the template. One, two, three, four, five, six. There you go. Now let's assemble the sword. 1, 2, and 3. Put those pieces together, line them up nice and straight to get a good looking sword. And tape them together. Lay that on your foam board and trace it. Then move it over and trace it again so you end up with 2 of these. Now you can do this project with just 1, but do 2 so you have a strong sword that you can use. And a single layer of foam board, when you paint it, is prone to curving. Okay, so now the rest of the pieces. You've got this piece, we're going to call that the saddle. This piece is the guard. Excuse me, that's the handle. And this piece is the guard. Right there. You're going to make 2 of those, 2 handles, 2 guards, and 1 saddle. So trace them. 1 of this, and 2 of those other 2 pieces. So now let's take a closer look at what we're going to do with the saddle. Draw in those dashed lines. It's important, because we got a little bit of cutting we're going to have to do that. So now go ahead and cut all those pieces out. You should end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. Now let me give you a tip on cutting foam board first before we go ahead. This is my favorite X-Acto knife. I love this knife. I've got a link to it in the description of the video. It's because of a couple of reasons. It's comfortable to hold, and I love how you can put the blade in and then tighten it from the bottom. See my left hand there is tightening it. It's a safety. It's just comfortable. I love this knife. So watch. When you're cutting foam board, if you're not an expert at it, make 3 passes. The first pass cuts the top layer of paper. The second pass, you press firmer and you cut through the foam, which is very easy to do. And then on the third pass, you press down harder and cut the bottom layer of paper, and you're done. And you get a nice smooth cut. See that? That's how to cut foam board. So go ahead and cut out all those pieces that we've traced onto our single sheet of foam board. Now let's handle the saddle piece. Let me show you how to do this so it looks really good on the sword. First thing you do is you cut on those dashed lines, cutting through the top paper and the foam. Don't cut through the bottom layer of paper. And next we're going to make angle cuts here like this. I'll show you. I'll draw lines. This is the cut we made. These 2 next lines are the cuts we just made. We made that cut and we made that cut. Now we're going to add by making these cuts. This angled cut here like this, and an angled cut here like this. So go ahead and make those cuts. And it doesn't matter too much if you mess it up and it's kind of messy, because it gets hidden under the saddle. Because this takes a little bit of practice to get this smooth cut like this. And if you want to get good at it, practice it with on a scrap piece of foam board. Then remove that piece, that wedge. There we go. Now turn it around and do the other one. There we go. And this is also, you can now remove that center strip of paper best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but get most of the paper off. That's to facilitate bending. Okay, so now let's glue the whole thing together. Glue the two sword pieces together. You can use white glue. I use a hot glue gun because it's fast, easy, and it holds really well. Then glue on the handle pieces, and note how that is. The left side here, not here, over on my left hand there, that matches up. So easy for you to put it together that way. But you might want to do is so you don't make a mess with your glue, because that will affect the paint. How it looks later is draw a line like that, and now you know where to stay with the hot glue or the glue. You don't want any of it to get into any other blade areas, because it ruins the paint job. So there, glue that on. Kind of makes me think of an upside down flintlock rifle, doesn't it? With the big trigger. Flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Interesting little assembly, a little bit different. Not sure if I ever did a saddle like this with another weapon or sword. But it's going to go on there just like that. So use the same technique to glue it by first drawing in your line so you can be accurate with your glue, and then glue it on. An interesting sword. It's pretty durable because the blade is doubled and the handle is quadrupled. So you can kind of fool around with this sword. There we go. The saddle is on. So now one part remaining, and I did this specifically leaving this part out of the template so you added it later. That way you could adjust this to however your sword ended up being glued together. Now you can take those two parts of the guard, glue them together, and then insert them and position them so they match pretty well with the existing guard. See? And I made them extra big, so you just, once the glue is hardened, you go ahead and trim everything. Trim it with a knife, like this, to get all those edges to match very nicely, because it is 4 layers of foam board now. And then once you got it all trimmed, if you have some sandpaper, go ahead and sand all the edges all the way around the sword, including the blade. Don't sand the flat surfaces, because that ruins the paper and will affect the paint. But sand all your edges like this. And there we go, it's done. So now we're going to add the electronic wiring, the circuit board. Oh, not yet. Let's touch up the handle first. Sorry about that. So you can follow my pattern here, or you can do your own pattern, but use a blunted pencil to form grooves in the foam board. And the point being is press down firmly. You want to groove that foam board. You're not just drawing on it. We actually don't care about the pencil line. What we want is the groove. The handle, the guard, and the saddle. The saddle going all the way around like this. I think I show you a little bit here. So you can go all the way around with it onto the back side. Okay. Now it's done. Now we can paint it. You can go ahead and just paint it, and but first draw in the edge like this, so you know which part of it is the center and which part of the is the sharpened edge of the sword. And it is about a half an inch. It's about a half an inch wide, that edge. I'm going to show you a little trick here for getting nice crisp edges with paint. You can go ahead and do it by hand if you want, but if you want a really sharp edge, which looks more metallic, looks a little better, I'll show you how to do that. I've used all kinds of tapes in the past, just about every single tape there is, and when it comes to curved edges, I like electrical tape because it has that rubbery flexibility. You know, with masking tape or painter's tape or duct tape or any other kind of tape, you sacrifice a little bit of curving because this stuff doesn't curve, but electrical tape just flexes and curves. So lay that carefully on your line. And you're done. Now paint those edges silver. And with a lot of metallic silver paints, metallic gold paints, metallic paints, they tend to takes a little bit of effort to get it on to stay to the foam board, so sometimes you have to let it dry and do a second coat. That's okay. Just go ahead and do that. While that's drying, I went ahead and painted my handle black. And then I used a small brush to get those edges of the foam board in there. Not that center section. That section gets silver, but just the edge of the foam board. Okay, so once it's dried, be sure it's fully dry. Use a fan to facilitate drying if you have to. You can gently remove the electrical tape. And see, you have a nice sharp line. Standard painter's technique. So now what you could do is you could now put a new layer of electrical tape covering the silver so it could paint that inner edge, or you could just do it by hand. If you want to paint that center section, I just did it by hand. And I'll show you a little bit of that. But the important thing being is that you want a different shade of silver. So I added a little bit of black to my silver. Mix it up really well. But that's the important thing, otherwise it's going to all be the same. Change the shade of silver. Darken it up a little bit for that center section. And then I just took my time and tried to match those lines as best I could. And it came out pretty good. But like I'm saying, you could use electrical tape and mask off the silver and then paint. It would be faster. But there we go. I'm not going to show you all of that, but you get the idea. So there you go. It looked pretty good. That came out pretty good. So now we're going to do the circuit board lines. And you can use gold tape. Just slice it really thin with scissors or an X-Acto knife. Or you can use a gold pencil. Or you can use a gold marker like I'm going to use. I'm going to use this Cricut gold marker. It's a 1.0 millimeter thick. And then draw on the circuit lines. How does it look? Pretty good. I like it. Have fun with that. Just be creative. So now, the shininess of it. Mod Podge Super High Shine. That's a spray-on. That really works wonderful. Or you can use the Mod Podge Gloss Luster brush on. This is much better, so I went ahead and did that. I only did a little bit here in the video. I took the sword outside and finished it outside because of, it's an aerosol. And that's it. The sword is done. Looks good, and it's not wet. It looks wet, but it's not. It's dry. Nice metallic look. So, I was thinking, making this sword, I was thinking, boy, I've made so many swords. I would say a fair guess is 200. Fair guess. And let's take a look at some of them. I've made just about so many swords from video games, from creating new ones, from movies, from everywhere, from history, you name it. I've done the swords. Look at, see that? And so they're all on my website if you want to make a sword. Frostmourne, there's Skyrim, just all the games. I even made a glass sword, and I've even made real swords. And if you want to learn how to do that, that's on my website too. So I guess you could say I've got the swords. Thanks.
Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you're not a subscriber, hit that button. I always have lots of fun and interesting and very creative projects. I do 2 new ones every week. As an example, here's a couple more videos you might want to watch.